Hello, OOOMIEs, and welcome back in to another beautiful episode of the Out of Our Minds podcast. Today, we're doing something a little different. I don't think we've ever done this before, but we are doing a fully intuitive channeled episode. And we actually had something else planned for today, but there's something that's wanting to come through. It's a message, something that's coming through both of our channels. Maybe it's different, maybe it's similar, but we are wanting to pass through a really powerful message to you of motivation, reminders that are going to help you for today and maybe this week and maybe this month. And by the end of this episode, we're hoping that you're feeling super motivated. We're not quite sure what's going to come through, but we're feeling into some sort of theme around motivation and really just reminding you of how freaking powerful you are. And I feel like something that's coming through my channel is the reminder of how beautiful this life is and how grateful we can feel for this gift that we are experiencing every single second. So we're going to let this rip. We're going to let our intuition drive this episode and just allow whatever wants to come through our channel to come through. And we hope you guys enjoy this. So what came through your channel and you just opened up? We just took a second to open up our channels, but I'm asking Bella, what came through your channel in that moment?
Yeah, I definitely, well, you said that something about gratitude was coming through, which I started to kind of look back and reflect on this energy of, when you basically start to be super accepting, like you start with accepting and almost neutralizing the things in your life, all basically everything, of including the goals you have, your partner, your desires. You just take them off the pedestal. And when you do that, you can look at it from this neutral place. And then all of a sudden, the point of doing that is then you have immense gratitude for everything. And I have had this happen in my own journey where when I take money off the pedestal or a certain successful metric off the pedestal, and I almost just look at, from a very logical perspective, the pros and cons of it, that the message is to remember, like, if things are feeling really, really charged, it's an opportunity to bring a lot of neutral energy to it and remember that all things in this life are truly neutral until we provide a consciousness to it. And until we provide a label to it or we make it mean something, a symbol. And when you can remove the meaning off of it, then you can actually engage with that thing in a much cleaner and more sustainable way. And from there, you become so grateful for everything that you already have in your life. And you start to switch to this mentality of literally looking at life with rose-colored glasses, and everything is so beautiful and incredible. And we forget that sometimes, and it's totally okay. It's happened to me where I get into phases where I'm not so much steeped in gratitude and I'm more so grasping and trying to create more things in life, which has its purpose and can be very powerful in and of itself. And then you come back to it and you realize how much there already is around you. And you'll know you're achieving this when you're just standing by the pool with your partner and you're just thinking, how cool is it that we have this pool? How nice is it that we have this pool? That's fucking great. And you say it out loud and your partner's like, yeah, it is really nice that we have this pool. And you're like, fuck yeah, that's awesome. And then you're sitting doing your work and you're like, how great is it that I get to write this email?
Yeah.
How nice is that? That's fucking cool. I love that. So you just start to like do that with little things in life. And that puts you into the energy of being fucking primed for a quantum leap and being primed for taking action from a soul-led place and doing all these things because you fucking get to. And I think that type of motivation is so powerful because you're not having to do it. You're not responsible for doing it. You're just doing it because you fucking get to. And you're alive and you're in this vessel and it's fucking awesome. And we forget that it's awesome so that then when we do feel that it's awesome, we really fucking feel it.
Right. The contrast is crazy. Oh my God, I'm getting chills as you're talking. I had a similar moment with Peter when we were away in Scottsdale. I looked at him and I was like, isn't it so funny that we're just like, we just like chose to live life together and we're just these like little sim characters that are playing this weird reality game. And it's just like this one little blimp that we get to experience life. And I don't want to say this in a negative way, but it goes so fast. Like life goes fast and it also goes slow. And I'm just saying this in terms of like, how beautiful is it that we get to do all of these things? And I think it's so easy to get lost in the sauce of thinking like, I have to do this and I have to do that and da 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 da. And all of a sudden, everything is so pressurized and charged, like how you're saying, and the consciousness and the energy that we're putting behind the things that we're doing feels negative. And I think this lesson that you have taught me over the past few months of neutralizing things has been so powerful, because essentially what you're doing is you're shifting the consciousness and the energy and the intention behind a specific action, where once maybe it was a have to, I need to, this is detrimental to my survival. Now it's I get to, I want to, I love to. And the energy behind it is so different that changes the entire outcome of what that action is even doing for your life and how it feels. And it's just so special to have these moments of like looking around at your life and just having full acceptance. And if you can, gratitude and love for where you're at. And if you can just start with acceptance, then that's a beautiful place to start as well. And just to be in a place of non-resistance with where you're at and to see the beauty in everything that is around you. And even if it's just a specific chapter of life that you're in that maybe isn't a preference to you, to see the beauty in why it is you're even there and the lessons that you're learning and all the things that are moving and shifting as you're in this chapter, and just to feel into how beautiful it is to be in the current container that you're in. And it's these moments of gratitude and appreciation and just being fully immersed in the now, where we tap into these really heightened feelings that just make us feel so at peace and blissful with life. And there are ebbs and flows. There are moments where maybe we're grasping and thinking about some future event, but as you were saying, I really think it's like an essential part of the journey. You go through these chapters where all of a sudden you get an intuitive hit of something you want to create or something you want to do, and our mind starts to grasp and like grip onto it. But we need that chapter in order to understand what it is we're even meant to work on with our creations, or work on with which direction we're meant to go in. And then there's a process of going into, oh, okay, but I'm here now, and like accepting. And I want you to share more about like this acceptance, because I think this is going to be something that's really resonating with the OOOMIEs. Just how can we feel into more of that neutralized state and that acceptance? Like, what was that process like for you?
This definitely was not easy at first, because I think sometimes we get into just a comfortable pattern of our thought patterns and the way we feel, and just our day to day of how we're relating to life and the goals that we have and the visions. And we kind of go about that for a while, and then we realize, oh shit, I'm living life with like a dangling carrot that's not ever going to actually bring me what I want. And when you realize that, you're like, okay, I understand conceptually that that is what's happening, but how do I break away from it? And some of the things that really helped me was, this concept of neutralizing things, which I specifically learned about it through a friend of mine who learned about it through this guy, Dr. John DeMartini. And there's this whole kind of like breakthrough method where you can apply it to basically everything. But for example, common ones would be like your relationship to money, your relationship to success, to your romantic partner, to your parents, your siblings, things that tend to have some emotional charge in terms of, with money, thinking that like, making money is going to make me feel like this. And I need to make money in order to prove that I'm successful enough, and all these things that we slip into, which have some truth to them, but also have the opposite part of it too. And so what you do is, for example, with money, you would very logically start to say, okay, what are all the good things that would come from, let's use the example of, let's say you have pedestalized the idea of needing to make a lot more money than you do now. So in your mind, you've already written this story that it's good to make more money than I am now. And you're convinced like obviously only good could come from that. So what you do is you kind of flip it and you make this like pros and cons list, very logical, of okay, what would actually be a bunch of good things from me not making more money, and from whatever that specific flavor is, like from your partner having to support you. And then you would say, what are the quote unquote like bad things? You play in the dynamic of good and bad for this to get to a point of neutrality. So then you would say, okay, what are the quote unquote bad things that would happen if I do make more money? And what you'll see is at first your mind is like blanking on it because you've bought into this story of like, it's only like going to be a good thing for me to make more money. And so you kind of like flip this script and you push yourself to come up with like, okay, well, maybe if I make more money, I actually would have less time with my partner. And maybe if I make more money, then my partner, like maybe they'll feel like they're not as good because suddenly I'm making more than them. So you almost like do on purpose this like flip of the script. And because at this point, your relationship with money would be charged in a way that it's very hard for you to comprehend the opposite. And at the end of the day, like the story that we want to come true is the one that will, but you want to even out the playing field where you're not so tightly fused to your like survival and worth as a human being contingent on this thing happening. And it's really hard. You'll know when something is like very charged for you when you go through that thought process and you're like having trouble coming up with the potentials on the other side of it, or you're just not like believing them to be true. So I did this exercise for money and it was so transformative because at first I was like, there could be nothing good about me not making more money. Like I was so convinced of that the current state I was in was not good enough. And so by flipping it, I was like, whoa. And I opened up this whole new world of just like coming at this one, thing in my life from all different angles, that all of a sudden that thing itself became so neutral because I was like, okay, it could literally be both quote unquote good or bad. It could go this way or that way. And like at the end of the day, me at the center, nothing really changes. It's just different potential circumstances. And now on the other side of that, you see that thing more clearly. So you see like making money in your business is really just, selling and providing value and getting money back according to whatever you want to charge. And it has nothing to do with you as a person. And so I paired that with then this healing experience around enoughness. And it was tied together because from looking at the things in our life as neutral, where it's like money, the relationship, this, that, the house you want, etc., you recognize when you're putting your worth and who you are as a person tied to that thing happening or not. So like my sense of when I'm successful enough and when I do this, then I'm going to feel a lot better, that gets removed and you come back to the wholeness of who you are. But then you're actually even more like motivated and able to create that thing. So the irony is I then experienced more financial abundance after releasing the charge on that thing. It's just because you're interacting with it in a much more like clean way in terms of energy. So that's kind of the like explanation of that. But yeah, I think it's like an interesting lens to apply to life, where I think sometimes with manifestation, because we associate these great emotions about, feeling, at peace and feeling gratitude in that vision, sometimes we actually latch on to like that positive feeling in association with the thing that we're trying to manifest, that we charge it in a way that is not actually beneficial. But then you can kind of like reset it to get back into feeling gratitude for everything, which includes that thing, for in this example, like money or success or growth in your business. And you actually feel the gratitude for it in like the healthy, appropriate way, rather than clinging on to it by like, oh, I need to have this because I need to feel blank. And that's where it comes back to creating the emotion in the now and being grateful for what's in the now. But I think that concept of neutralizing something, at least for me, was game changing, because I don't think I realized how much I had created a charge around these subjects.
Yeah, I'm realizing what the charge is when you think about who we are as souls and like that eternal, powerful, abundant energy that I always reference. The charge is created when we think that something outside of us is going to somehow create more enoughness or more wholeness. And we put what we are and the definition of what we are onto something else. And then that thing becomes so charged because obviously, if we're not getting it, then we are making that mean that we are less of something that we think we are going to get from that thing.
Yeah.
So if you want to take even like another approach with this process, you can just start to think about what like areas of life with let's say like thinking about acquiring something or manifesting something. If you feel like there's this really difficult journey of getting to that thing, there may just be a charge attached to that thing. And what you can do is think about, okay, how am I actually making myself into something less than what I actually am because I'm not in the presence of this thing or I don't have this thing? And it's just an interesting thought practice to lean into because you recognize how the ego is starting to define our wholeness or our power by something that is outside of us externally. And just a little reminder, guys, like I shared this on my Instagram yesterday, that you can never change the amount of wholeness or enoughness that you are. Ever since the day you were born, you were fully whole, fully enough. I mean, even just saying you're enough is kind of, I don't know, it doesn't really mean anything. Enough of what? Enough of, I don't know, like what does that even mean? You have been whole and complete since the day that you were born. And the only thing that shifts over time is our perception of how whole we are and our perception of how powerful we are. And as we start to give our power back to us as the person and the being and the observer that gets to decide what that perception is, the charge from the things outside of us start to dissolve and they neutralize. Because no longer is money the deciding factor of how powerful we are. No longer is having a partner or not having a partner the deciding factor of how lovable we are. You get to decide this. And this is like one of the most empowering parts of this path is when we realize that there's nothing outside of you that can ever take anything away from you. Any level of power, any feeling of wholeness, you are the one that gets to perceive that about yourself. And it's okay if there's moments in life where you feel like you're giving your power away because there's something outside of you that feels like it's making you feel less, or maybe there's a lack of abundance that's making you feel less powerful. Again, this is just a part of the journey where that specific thing in your life is the teacher of power, is the teacher of abundance. And we need these things in our life or else we'll never have that awakening moment. And we all have different teachers in our life. Some people have their bank account as their teacher. I would say most of us, probably all of us do. Some people have a partner or maybe a relationship that wasn't as healthy as they thought it would be going into it as the teacher of how powerful they are. All of these things that we would label as something negative or bad or not an experience that we should be having is actually the exact thing that is here to remind you of the wholeness and the completeness and the power and the abundance that you hold within. Without those things, you wouldn't have these moments of recognizing that within yourself. And this is just the lesson of like polarity in life. We cannot observe something without it splitting into two and having the ability to become aware of what it is by viewing it from that outside perspective. And that's where we become opposites. And this is just a part of the path. So just notice in your life where there are teachers popping up. And instead of labeling something as, oh my God, this is a bad experience, I'm not supposed to be in this, I shouldn't be thinking this way about something, maybe it actually is the exact experience that your soul is bringing you through in this exact moment as the teacher for you to unlock some sort of energy and to remember and to become aware and to be able to perceive the wholeness and the truth of who you are on like a really spiritual, energetic, and soul level. And I just always like to give that reminder because it's very easy to go down the shame spirals of like, oh my goodness, like, why am I feeling this way about money? Why am I feeling this way about not having a partner? No, you're like exactly where you're meant to be. And now you're just ready to shift the awareness around this particular situation.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that is so freaking important. And you're making me think about how actually we're going to do a full episode on this at another point, but the first hermetic law being that the world in the universe is mental, meaning like you're saying, the things around you are going to come from a creation from within, that you basically choose things around you to teach you what you need to know. So it's like, yeah, you can think about how I actually just watched a video last night from Robert Edward Grant. Am I saying that correct? Yes, Robert Edward Grant. You say something
like
and you're like, am
twister.
I pronouncing this correctly?
I think because a lot of people just say Robert Grant. Is it Edward?
He always puts the E. Like he's
okay.
always, yeah, Robert Edward, whatever, Robert Grant. Now I'm like, it's like saying ointment so many times that you're like, what am I saying? Anyway, he was saying how a perspective shift is to basically look at the world and say, instead of like, why is this happening to me? Why did I choose this? And so that's another very empowered perspective that, again, can be, it's not to say it's not going to be easy to live that perspective. And there are obstacles and challenges that come into life that are very, very freaking real and can be painful in the moment and whatever it might be. But if you think about what is it here to teach me, I think most of us can look back on our life and be like, wow, actually, I can see how I needed that, or that at least assisted me in some way on my path. And I know for sure, yeah, for a lot of people, your bank account is a teacher. For me, for sure, my relationship is the biggest freaking teacher. And I know that that's even aligned with like my astrological karma of like balance and relationships. And when you look at it that way, yeah, you're just not a victim to it. And everything is basically a cherry on top. And that's how I think like moving into that mode of creation really helps you to feel even more motivated and to actually create even more around you of what you want. And we're meant to have these like soul-led desires and to feel, you know, driven to want to create something, whether that's, you know, a business or a relationship or build a family or to crush it at your 9 to 5, like whatever it is for you, build a freaking farm. Like there's all these things that drive us to awaken the lessons in our soul that are meant for us. And you get to do all of them. And so it's just when you kind of come back to that baseline of you've neutralized the things, you've taken the drama out, you're trying to see things more clearly, everything just becomes more beautiful because of that. And it's because you've almost done the logic to realize like everything kind of just is like, this is cool, but also like is not cool. Like, you know, it's like, can be whatever you want to make it. And yeah, I really feel that message coming through and harping on that idea of, especially when you feel, you know, frustrated or like things aren't happening, like things are absolutely happening. And there's also a lag sometimes in our 3D world. And it is that moment, those moments of showing up and still doing the thing, even when you feel like there's not a physical result yet, you are going to get the physical result. Like the 3D world is going to catch up, and it's literally a law of nature and a law of the universe for it to catch up and show it. And that's whether you frame that through the quantum realm of everything already existing at once outside of physical or outside of typical space and time dimensions. And that if you ask it, it has already been given to you, like it already exists. Or you think about it in the hermetic laws of it's mental. And so whatever you're thinking inside of you is going to then take place outside of you. And it is going to happen. And if you also then take actions believing that the things you are doing are that powerful, they will be even more so, and you'll enjoy doing it even more and not be doing it in a transaction.
Yeah. I want to talk a little bit about how we can enjoy that more. Like, I know gratitude came up for me when we were opening our channels before this, but this process that you're talking about is really the secret sauce. It's like showing up and taking the actions that are aligned with whatever it is you want to create in life, because what you think about, what you put your intention behind, what you take action with is what will manifest and materialize in your reality. And it's really important that throughout this process, we're finding specific ways that we can tap further into the now, and that we can tap further into gratitude and feeling the abundance and the joy and the love that surrounds us in life. And I want to share a little bit of some of the things that I do in my life that just help me feel so freaking grounded and so in the present moment. And when I find myself kind of like in more of a future tripping phase, I just have these like little things in my head that are always my go-to of like, okay, I need to return back into the present moment. And they're just so simple. And maybe this will just inspire you to do some things in your life that allow you to tap into this present moment now. But every morning, I shared this on my story one day, but every morning I put on a pink apron and I make juice, and I make celery juice with lemon and ginger and spinach, and I make it for Peter and I play this like coffee house jazz playlist on
love
Spotify.
those.
And I just start to romanticize the fuck out of my life. Like I literally feel like I'm in a movie. I open the back door, I let the air in, I see the sun outside, and it just feels so fun. And I almost feel like I keep saying this, but I feel like I'm like a little sim character playing life. And it's just so fun to romanticize your life in that way and to find so much peace and beauty in the processes of your everyday life. Like, I don't know why, but making this juice every morning just makes me so happy, and it brings me so deep into the present moment. And Peter and I moved into this new house in November or December of last year, and we didn't have a a dishwasher. And when we first moved in, I was like, okay, of course we're going to put in a dishwasher. And then we kind of had this talk of like, why don't we just see like what life is like without a dishwasher? And we haven't had a dishwasher. And it has been such a teacher for me, like to be more in the now and to be in the present moment. And I just will spend the afternoon, like after dinner, we wash the dishes together. And it's just such a beautiful process of like being fully in the now, kind of like when you're driving a car and you just lose track of time and you're just so in the present moment. There's just these little things that you do throughout your day where you can just surrender into the flow of life, where you're not thinking about anything else. And this can be a creative process. It can be washing your dishes. It can be cleaning your house, folding your laundry. But just next time you're doing one of these processes, just look around you and see how cool it is that you have plugged yourself into this virtual reality where you get to be a little sim and live life. And these processes don't have to feel so like, oh, I have to do this and need to get this done. It's like, oh my goodness, I am living in this reality. I have working hands and working feet and working legs, and I'm able to work out. I'm able to clean my dishes. I'm able to stand at my sink and stare out the window as I'm fucking scrubbing my dishes. Like, this is something that I get to do. It's something that I love to do. And the more you put this energy behind the mundane tasks, the more you'll feel this sink into the other tasks that you're completing in life, maybe that have to do with your career or things that are just more, would be more charged. And it's fun to start it with the things that are obviously not as charged. And then you work your way into the processes that maybe do have more of a charge, and you feel so different in life. Like, as you're sitting at your computer making an Instagram post or something, the energy that's being injected into it is so different. And like, trust me, over the past few weeks, I have had such a negatively charged experience when it comes to social media. And it's been a conversation that Bella and I have been having. And this morning I just sat down and I was like, you know what? This is fucking fun. I get to create. And while I was doing the Joe Dispenza meditation, I had a full blown like realization of like, I have so many creative ideas of creating content that I just haven't been allowing myself to tap into when it comes to social media and Instagram, because I took this energy of like, I have to post this and need to do this. But when I was sitting in the meditation, I was like, but I get to, and I want to, and I love to. And as soon as you put that energy behind the tasks that are maybe more charged, you neutralize it, but then you turn it into something positive, and then your creative flow can actually go through the task, and like there's like a clear channel for that energy to flow. And when there's a negative charge, it's kind of like stuck and clogged. And just having that gratitude towards these processes allows that energy to flow. It's like a circulation that happens.
Totally. Yeah. That is so beautiful. I love the way you describe making juice. It's so cute. And it's true. We can do that with anything of like, I mean, those little things really count, whether that's making your coffee or freaking like whatever it is, just that is like, that's peak, enlightenment, honestly, is like really enjoying those things. And Yeah, I think the other thing that I wanted to say is I think there's parts of whatever journey you're on, of whatever you're creating or working toward or being, there's the clearly fun parts that, you know, you can make a lot of them even more enjoyable and fun. But then I also think there's so much value in applying this same mindset of gratitude and getting to do things to when it's challenging and hard and resistance is coming up and you're not sure that you're any good at it. And all those things are coming up that when you challenge yourself and push your limits and push your edge, that you're going to have those things come up. And those are also a beautiful part of it because it's through the stretch and challenging that we really remember who the fuck we are and we remember how fucking powerful and awesome and how genius we are at what we do. And there is often a part of that where you feel stretched and you feel uncomfortable and bigger and better things are coming into your life. And then you're also are like, fuck, I'm really tired. Do I just want to sleep? And you're like, am I self-protecting or is my body just getting an upgrade of energy? Like, and there's that, the dance of when you inject all of this positivity and gratitude into what you do, there's still going to be the challenge and there's still going to be the mountain to climb. And I just want to remind anyone listening that that is also such a sacred, incredible part of the journey. And it's like there's a really powerful saying on, I think it's the Wimbledon court. I forget which tennis court. There's a very famous tennis court. And as the players come out, there's this plaque, like quote thing on the wall. And it says, pressure is a privilege. And it speaks to this idea of, for them specifically, they're at this very high caliber of sport and competition, and the pressure that they feel to win or to do well or whatever is a privilege. And it's this reminder of like how grateful it is and incredible it is to be for them at that level, but to distill it down to, you know, any day-to-day thing of like being challenged and getting to grow, like that is an incredible gift that it is to be human and to be in this experience, being souls in human bodies and getting to go through life and to even be blessed with a vision that landed in your third eye from the universe that makes you uncomfortable enough to go out and try something different. Like that is also a beautiful experience, and to just lean into that difficulty, you know, it's almost like a weird paradox of like lean into the resistance in a way where it's feeling tough and hard, but you're like up, you have like that third person perspective of like, yeah, but this is fucking awesome that you're like audacious enough to try something that's difficult and that you got off your fucking ass and you did the fucking thing and you showed up and you felt like you wanted to throw up, but you did it anyway. And there's like a real beauty to that I want someone to know. Someone is like not sure, they're like struggling, there's a challenge, it's like that is also fucking awesome. And if it doesn't feel fun in the moment, you're gonna feel so glad after that you did it.
This is how I feel on the fucking Peloton, because what you're saying is like, it's so true. When you're meeting the edges and you're feeling that discomfort, you either run, give up, or you get so present. And it's in that process of getting so present where you begin to channel an energy that feels so true to who you actually are. And you can apply this to working out, a creative venture, leaning into some sort of difficult conversation with someone. Like there is a presence that comes through when you're in the midst of feeling discomfort that allows you to act as a very clear channel. And it's reminding me what you're saying of like this privilege of feeling that pressure and even that ability to stretch and to grow is reminding me of that video that we watch of that girl saying how beautiful it was that we came down to this experience to feel the full spectrum of emotions, and how beautiful is it that we can feel grief and sadness and anger. And she was just saying how we get to see the full experience as like a ride that we have right? Was she saying that? It's like one big ride. Yeah, but I think I'm also applying this now to this pressure and this discomfort and growing and being able to evolve. It is a freaking privilege. And it's so beautiful to view it that way, because every time you're meeting your edges or you're stretching out of your comfort zone, you can see it as like, holy crap, how beautiful is it that I am literally energetically expanding. And because of me taking this action, the cells in my body are changing. Like the way that my brain is working is changing. The way that my body is showing up in this world is like, there's so much change going on such a cellular level when you're going through immense growth in that way, or even small growth. And if you can just remember that, I think it'll help us when we're facing those moments, because it reminds us of the reason as to why we're even leaning into that discomfort in the first place. And just get super present, super in the now, and allow yourself to open up to becoming that channel. And this is reminding me, we did an episode on how to channel the divine in any process. And if you're intrigued by what we're talking about now, I would definitely recommend listening to that episode. I'm not sure what number it is, but we can link it below in the show notes.
Yeah. Amen. I like the idea of keeping this short and sweet. So maybe we can close out unless there's any of the final thoughts. And in the edit, I'll play that video from Lily Reinhart, because it's so beautiful. And I think it's honestly a good note to end on, of just like how incredible it is that you get to be in this experience. And I find that to be very motivating.
Yeah. Maybe you could do that as the end.
Yeah, I'll put it as like the last thing. Guys, thank you for listening. You fucking got this. I believe in you. Nikki believes in you. The fucking universe believes in you. And your soul believes in you. So keep fucking going. Tell us how this landed. Let us know if this resonated. We're fucking here for you. We love you so much. And if you want to connect in community for all this type of conversations and people who are going through similar things, you know where to find us, oooomies.com/oasis. You can join our monthly community. And now we will end on the beautiful note from Lily Reinhart. Thanks for listening.
Bye, guys.
I started out as this celestial being, this just energy. And the universe or God or whomever said, hey, do you want to go to Earth for an incredibly short amount of time, like a blip, and experience every emotion that you could possibly feel as a human? You get to have all these experiences: love, heartache, anxiety, joy, euphoria, whatever, all of it. Do you want to do that? Yeah, I do. And so when I am feeling these intense feelings, it's sort of like a reality check to step outside and say, although this is a very uncomfortable, painful feeling, it's quite beautiful that I have the capacity